Hello, I'm Zett, and today I show you how to finally set up custom ISO bubbles so you set up your own PSP games as bubble. In the previous video I've showed you how to use Patapon to set up a VHBL bubble, as you can see in part of this video. And I will also show you how to do this custom boot screen for the custom bubbles, since this is basically one of the steps for creating your own custom ISO bubbles. Like as you can see, in this video I'm starting the Kaon bubble, then I have the Zett background instead of like a minis or health warning, and then the game starts. I will show you how to do exactly this, the game itself, and the background, if you are interested in the background. If not, if you prefer black screen, you can also use a black screen. Okay. At first we need sign NP. This time it gets a bit more complicated. Fake NP was the easy way, but it has restrictions in terms of size and what you can sign. But with sign NP you have no size restrictions, so you can even sign the 2.7 GB Final Fantasy Type 0 English patched single ISO. Okay, at first download SignNP. Since I'm using Windows, I'm downloading the Windows version and save. This is, by the way, just one .exe file, nothing else. Then we need the PSN decryptor. In this case it's the fixed version. I'm downloading this one, and now I also have the PSN decryptor fixed version. Then we still need package viewer. I'm also downloading package viewer. I have this. Okay. Then I'm going to show you two things. At first I'm using Cubics as my base game. With SignNP it doesn't matter what kind of base game you use. You can use minis, and you can use one of the exploit games. For example, Patapon 1 could be used. But this only applies to custom ISO bubbles. If you want homebrew bubbles, like the VHBL, then there are restrictions, but I've told you this in the last video. Okay, I'm going to download these two XPD files. One for Numblast, or Numblast, or whatever, and one for Cubics. Okay. At first I'm going to unpack package viewer. It's one .exe file, so yeah. Then I can delete this. Then I'm also going to unpack, where is it? Oh, it's already unpacked. Okay. Package viewer and SignNP will be moved into a folder which I call SignNP. You can see it only contains two files, package viewer and SignNP. And I am renaming SignNP version 104 Windows in just SignNP because the name is smaller, and in the end we most likely want the small name. This is what I was searching. I'm unpacking the PSN decryptor and drag and drop it out of the zip file. Then I've got this PSN decryptor folder which I will move into my SignNP folder. So inside of SignNP I have three things: SignNP, package viewer, and the PSN decryptor. And inside of PSN decryptor we have three things and a readme, but we most likely just need npd pc fixed. But more about this later. Then, like I've showed you in the last times, we are going to open the XPD files with, in my case, Notepad++, because I like Notepad++ and it looks clean. And I'm going to copy this link, paste it into my web browser, and going to save a package file, pkg package, and then I'm downloading it. Another important thing about this is we need to know and save this ID, which is the C ID, which starts with EP whatever and ends after the lot of zeros. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm done with the Cubics file. Then I'm going to create a new text document which I will call Cubics CID and keys. What the keys are, I will show you later, but at first I will copy the CID of Cubix in here. CID is this, and keys, I will do the keys later. Okay, now I've got this text file. One of the XPD files is done, the other one still has to be used, whatever. And this package file, I will rename it into Cubix because this is Cubix, and then I will open the other XPD file. This time it's the XPD file of Numblast, copying the link of Numblast or Numblast or whatever weird name. Press enter, save it, and we get another package file. Then once again copying the CID of Numblast and creating a new text document, Numblast CID and keys, and then CID is this and keys will follow later. Saving, and I'm done. Now this package file is Numblast, and then we can delete these two XPD files because we don't need them anymore. Now I will move the package file, the text document, the package file and the text document into the signmp folder, so we have a few more things in here. And to make things a bit more clear, I'm going to create a folder which I will call Cubix, and in there I will push both Cubix files. Then I will make a folder and call it Numblast, and then I will put both files into the Numblast folder. Then, and this can be deleted, I have two games. This is the game Super Collapse 3. It's an ISO, it's a PSP game, and we want to launch this in the end. Then I also have my trusty Worms games, which is also a small game which we also want to launch in the end, and this is Worms Battle Islands, and in the end we want to launch both these games via once Cubix and via once Numblast. Then I will move these files also into the signmp folder, so we have everything we need into the signmp folder. I will not link these games because it's illegal to download PSP games, so how to get these, do it yourself. I won't help you with this, but if you have games you want to sign, I assume you have games you want to sign, it's pretty easy to help you do this. But at first I'm opening the package viewer, which takes a while, but in the end it opens. Okay, first numblast.package, I will put it back in the previous folder, Cubix2, so the package files are now in the signmp folder, and then I will drag and drop Cubix into package viewer. So this is pretty similar to the other video. User direction, content, eboot. Okay, extract to source folder. Since the package file is called Cubix and this folder is called Cubix, it's in here, as we can see. Okay, I'm done with Cubix. Next I will use Numblast, user direction, content, extract to source folder. Once again, the package file is called Numblast, the folder is called Numblast. That's because all the extracted files of Numblast are now in the Numblast folder. When we're done with this, we can move them back into their folders. And now we need to get the keys. It's pretty easy to get the keys. At first, I'm using Cubix, then the npez 00101 folder, user direction, content, and eboot.ppp. I will extract this file and copy it into the PSN decryptor folder. Then I will drag and drop the eboot file onto npdpc fixed. This will do the following. CMD will open, and then it will create an ISO out of our game we have. Additionally, we get version key and header. We will just move all these things back into the Cubix folder because these are Cubix files. Now we have the version key, the header, the game as .iso, and the eboot.ppp, which we got from the package viewer. Next, I'm doing the very same with numblast. Numblast npeg 00011 user direction content eboot.ppp. Same here. I will move this file into this folder. Then I will drag and drop this file onto this file, which will open the CMD, which will then create an ISO. And if it's done, it will close, and we have the header, the ISO, and the version key of numblast as well. The next part is a bit tricky. We will open once the text document. I will do this with Cubix first. This text document. We have the CID, but we want the keys. Now, how to get the keys? It's not that hard. At first, you need a hex editor. For example, this one. This one is called hex editor MX. And I will drag and drop this version key of Cubix into this hex editor. On the left we see 36D0E3 and so on, and on the right we see some garbage which is uninteresting. Okay, then we can click on this box which will let you mark something inside of the file, so in the end we can copy it. I click on this box, then I will click on hexadecimal, then I will click on whole file, and then I click on OK. Now the left thing is marked and the right thing is marked. We now right click on the left thing because we want the hexadecimal values and copy it. And then we put it in here. If you can't copy it, you can also type it by hand, but no spaces. As you can see, the value, which is called keys, is the very same as in the hex editor from 36 to CC01. This is basically the keys we need, and if we have the CID and the keys, we can finally use sign and P. Okay, now I'm saving this text document and close it. Next, numblast. Now the very same. I open the text document. We have the CID, but we don't have the keys, so I will drag and drop this version key into the hex editor. As you can see, this is the previous one. I can close this. This is some random stuff. Oh god, I closed the wrong one. Okay, version key back in here. Version key 125 and so on, but I'm lazy, that's why I'm going to copy it instead of doing it by hand. And then I will copy it in here, and now we have the CID and keys of numblast as well. Then I will save this text document too, and I can close the hex editor because we don't need the hex editor anymore. Now we have the CID, the keys, the ISO, the PSN eboot, the version key, and so on. Now finally, how to sign your game. It's actually very easy to sign. At first, press Shift, keep Shift pressed, and then right click on your mouse, and then you have a new function in this menu, and if you click on it, it will open the CMD of Windows. Now the format is actually pretty easy to do. At first I will type some garbage. Okay, I will type sign MP and then some garbage, so we see what we can do all in all. As you can see, it says it has two modes. One mode is called PvP and one mode is called ELF. We only have to use PvP at the moment, which is the usage sign_np space minus PvP space. We don't need C, but we need input, output, CID and key. Some optional things are start.dat. Start.dat is pretty much the picture you want your game to have before you start it. Similar to the video I showed you, like the Zett wallpaper, or if a PSP game is a minis, then it has a minis background, and some PSP games also have this health warning. At first I will open my second folder. Where is it? Sign and p start.dat. I can delete this and rename this into start.dat.package png. Then I will copy it and put it also in here. Now we have our CMD, then a random picture, but it has to be in the size 480 x 272, so pretty much the size of the PSP screen. You can use any picture, you can use wallpaper, you can use no picture. It's not necessary, it's just if you want to use it you can, but you don't have to. In this example I'm going to use this. But okay, now the main thing which is important, and you have to pay attention about this. At first, the game you need as base. In my case I have cubics and numbless, but you only need one. So at first I'm doing cubics. Then I need this text document with the CID and the keys. Now I will type sign_np minus pbp. Then we have the input, which is worms.iso. Then the file, which is output, which is eboot.pbp. Then we need the CID. You can copy it, and then if you right click and say paste, it will be inside of the CMD. Then a space, and then we will copy the keys. Once again, copy it, right click, paste, and now we're technically done. If you want to, you can also add start.dat.png if you have one. If you don't want to, you don't have to. So this last thing is optional. Start.dat.png. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. And if you did this, let's see, we have worms.iso inside of our folder. Yes. The eboot.pbp is the file we get at the very end, so it doesn't have to be in the folder, obviously. Then we have the CID, the key, and this picture we want as a startup picture, which is also inside of the folder. Okay, now press enter. If you did everything right, it should say initializing Kirk engine. Then it will read some of the data of the game. Then it will build the block, and now very important, for it to work on the PS Vita, the npumd-img flag has to be 2. If it is 3, it won't work. It has to be 2. If it's not 2, then you have done something wrong. But okay, as you can see, now we have this eboot.pbp file, and it's signed with the cubics file. Holy shit, my computer is lagging. And I don't know why. But okay, as you can see, this is now worms. If I open the param_sfo, you see it has the disk ID npez0010101, which is cubics disk ID, but the title and the picture and everything is worms. So it looks like it worked. The next thing I'm going to do is I will do the very same thing again, but this time I'm going to use numblast CID and keys on the right side. Then the CMD, which is now sign_np minus pbp. Then I will use the sc3.iso. Then, since we already have an eboot.pbp, I will call this eboot2.pbp. Otherwise it would delete the first one and replace it. If you just do this with one game, you can just call it eboot.pbp. So it's not that important. Then I'm going to copy the CID and paste the CID, and then I'm going to copy the keys file and paste the keys file. For this game I'm not going to use the start dot, so I'm finished. I press enter, initialize the Kirk engine, then it will list some stuff of the game, and in the end let's check npumd img flags and a true. Okay, everything looks good. Then we can close CMD, we can close the text document, we can also close the web browser since ours, we don't need it. Then we have to copy these files onto our PS Vita. First I'm going to open this folder, which takes years to open for whatever reason, but whatever. Then P save data, then this weird ID, and then I'm using this folder to transfer my files. You can use any save data folder you want, except for the VHBL and except for the Petaban2 folder. These two are not allowed, but otherwise any other. You can even download a save game from the internet and use a random run. It's not important. Okay, you can see I have some files in here. The pboot can be deleted, it's not important. eboot ppp and eboot2.ppp. I will move these into this folder. Actually, I will rename this into eboot2. I think it's only allowed to have five letters .ppp. So if I would call this eboot2, it would be too long. Now I'm done with the PC part. Finally, it was a long task, but we're finally done. And now in the end we will use the PS Vita, copy the files, refresh the database, and then the game should work. Let's see. Okay, now on the PS Vita we go into the... First I will show you that I'm running the most recent version, which is version 3.36. Okay, then we go into Content Manager and copy content. Then we will go PC to Vita, Applications, and then you have to search your save data. I've used the PS1 save data, that's why this massive 308 MB save data now appears. And if you have a PSP save data, you just have to use the PSP save data and search it. Okay, now I'm going to overwrite the save data. This will take a few minutes, like 2 or 3, since it's copying 300 MB of data. It is important to say, to continue, you need to have the 3.36 Petaban VHBL if you are on 3.36. If you are on 3.30 or 3.35, you can also use the folder rename tricks. And if you are on 3.18 or 3.20, you can also use the rename tricks. But since I'm doing this video for the most people, which are I think on 3.36, I'm just doing the very same as if I would be on 3.36. When you have the VHBL for 3.36, add PSP filer to it. I have an old video for version 2.12 in which I show you how to add homebrews to your PS Vita via the VHBL. The video is old and it's for 2.12, but the way pretty much to install the homebrew is the very same. So just watch that old video. When you have PSP filer on your VHBL, you have to start PSP filer on your VHBL. In my video I will start PSP filer as a bubble because I have it as a bubble, but you pretty much want to start it via the VHBL so you can move folders and files without this stupid protection which is disabled inside of our VHBL, but otherwise it's enabled. Okay, copying files is done. Okay, in your case you have to start a VHBL. In my case, I will just use the PSP Vita directly. Okay, there I have it, PSP Vita. Next thing, at first we search our games. PSP game. Let's see. NPEG 11. This is Numblast, as we can see, Numblast. I will rename this folder into NPEG. Pretty much I just add this ampersand. This is everything I do. And as you can see, it was successful. Next thing I'm going to do is I will create a new folder, which I will call NPEG 00011. So this new folder has the same name as Numblast's folder, but without the ampersand or this and symbol, whatever. Next I'm going to search for Cubics. Cubics was, there we have it, NPEZ 00101. Cubics, yes. Rename it. I at the end. And now it's called NPEZ 00101 and then I'm going to hover over game again, create a new folder and call it NPEZ 00101. So in the end I have my 4 folders, which are the Numblast folder, which now has an end, the new Numblast folder, then the this is the Numblast folder, the other one was Cubics, and so on. Then I will go to save data and search for this one, SCES, because this is the save data I copied from my computer to my Vita. And we see it has the eboot.pvp and the eboot2.pvp, whatever. Let's see, NPZ. So this is the game we want to copy into the Numblast folder. Oops. PSP, game. Now I have to search the folder. Since I just created it, it should be at the very end. Ah, god damn it. If you press left or right, you will go into the RAM instead of your memory card, so this is a bit annoying. Let's see, there it is, NPEZ. No, it's a different one. It's a cloned one. There, this is the one we need. NPEZ 00101, and then I will move the file. This will now take, I think, a minute. It's actually pretty fast. If you take a big game, this will take longer. If you take Final Fantasy Type 0, so the very nearly 3 GB big game, something funny will happen instead of PSP Vita. The percentage of PSP Vita will go into the negative, for whatever reason, and when it reaches negative 150%, it will cycle between 0% and minus 1%, but that is not a problem. That is just a visual bug. It is still moving the Final Fantasy game, but like I said, it's a weird but funny visual bug. So if you move Final Fantasy via PSP Vita, don't be scared. It still works, it's just the percentage bar is kind of weird. Like it goes into negative percentages and minus 150, but whatever. It takes around 20 minutes to move Final Fantasy, since it's nearly 3 GB. But in the end, it might work, or should work. Okay, the game for the Cubics folder is nearly done. Okay, it's done. And then I will use this one. Okay, now I will rename this into eboot because I've moved the other one. You can also, of course, at first move this file and then rename it. It's not important. Okay, now it's called eboot.ppp. Now I will move this file as well. Now I will search for the npeg. Ah, god damn it. The npeg folder. No, that's the wrong one. npeg and 11 at the end. This is the end folder. We need the normal one. Here it is. npeg 00011. Then I will move this file as well. And this looks a bit faster. But whatever. In the end, I will check if the four folders we need have the correct files. We have the npeg 00011 folder. We have the npeg 00011 AND folder, so with the little AND symbol. I think it's called ampersand in English. Then we have the Cubics folder, which is npez 00101, and in the end we have the npez 00101 AND folder. So we have two folders, and then we have the same folders with a little AND symbol at the end. Okay, it's done. Now I'll go back into the game folder. We can see the the numblast folder, which has the end, and the folder without the end is our fake signed game, which is Super Collapse 3. Then we also have this folder, which is Cubics, and then we have this folder, which is Worms Battle Islands. If you did everything right so far, then you now have to exit your VHBL. And if you, I think if you now check the file size of Cubics, it should have changed. Yeah, now it says it's 183 MB. This is the fake game we edit. The other, oh, there's no less. The other is now also, it says 125 MB. Usually these games are very small, I think like 10 or 30 MB, so the games are bigger than the base game. Usually this wouldn't work, but with Sign and P, the tool we have used on the computer, it works. Removing the USB cable. Okay, now we will use the same trick we have used before. We shut down the PS Vita. If it stops flashing, or if you have the other PS Vita, the 2000, just wait until you think it's turned off. Then we will remove the memory card. You can just press it, so if it's not inside of the Vita, it's not loaded. Then we start the PS Vita. My shadow. Let's see. It's updating the database, and this should take a few seconds. After you updated the database, you shut down the device one more time, power off, it stopped flashing, then I will put the memory card. You can see it's removed. Oops. Now it's back inside. I will close this, and then I will start my PS Vita. It will once again rebuild the database, and after this is done, we should be able to launch our two games, which are Worms and Super Collapse. Important now is, it can be that your base game and your ISO do not like each other. So, for example, you use, I don't know, Cubics as base, and you want to sign, for example, Grand Theft Auto or GTA Liberty City Stories. It is possible, if you do everything 100% correct, that either the game starts, like we want it to start, or it's possible that you click on the game, you have a black screen, and then it returns to the home menu. If this happens, then your game and your base game are not compatible. In that case, you either have to try a different ISO, like a different game you want to sign, or you have to try a different base game. In this case, I've showed you two base games, which are Numblast and Cubics. Both of those games were able to start a game at mine, but I've also tested 8 other games, so in total I've tested 10 games and only 3 were able to launch games. So if this fails for you, just try it with a different base game or with a different ISO. There's also a reason I used small games on my computer, so we don't take so much time to set this up. Let's see. Numblast and Cubics are now on this new site. Cubics is... oh, now it says 27 MB. That's weird, but whatever. Let's see. Starting Cubics. Okay, the background works. This is interesting. Now let's see if the game works. And the game works. I'm now playing Worms via Cubics. As you can see, Worms via Cubics. And you don't need DNV or ARC or any kind of e-custom firmware to do this. You can play these games as custom bubbles. But as I said, it is possible that you start the game and it will just exit back to the home menu. If this happens, try a different base game or try a different game you want to sign. So either different base game or different ISO. As you can see, the game is perfectly working. Now let's see if the Numblast game is working. Either this works or it fails. Let's see. It works. Nice. And also in this case, I'm starting Super Collapse 3 via Numblast. So this is pretty much everything you need to know about the custom ISO bubbles and sign NP. I know this was a long video, and if this fails for you, just try it with a different base game. And if you follow another video of mine, like the P-boot patches, you can change the appearance of your game. For example, this game, which is K-On!, a Japanese game. You see, it says it's 27 MB, but actually it's 1.7 gigabytes. So the base game I'm using is 30 MB, well actually 27, but around 30 MB, and I can easily start a 1.7 gigabyte game. You just need the correct base game or the correct ISO you want to sign. As long as you follow this tutorial, it should work. And of course, everything is running in the most recent version, which is 3.36. If Sony releases a PS Vita firmware 3.37 or 3.40 or anything newer, don't update, because this will only work until 3.36. If you update, your bubbles will stop working, so you can't use these bubbles on higher versions than 3.36. Oh, I hope you understood everything. I hope the whole CID and keys part wasn't too complicated. And yeah, I'm Zett and see you soon.